Okay. In this video, we're going to talk about how to transfer the image you see here onto your own drawing paper. So you could work square by square, or you could work shape by shape. Some people find it easy to look at one square at a time. So if I wanted to start at the bottom of this roll of toilet paper, I could even use scrap paper, kind of cover things up and look at just E2. So I come down over here to E2. And I need to make what I see in square E2 here match what I see here. So the edge of the toilet paper is straight up and down. It starts to curve, and when it exits E2 to go into E3, it's, let's see if that's halfway, it's less than a quarter of the way up. So I like to make a mark, kind of plot a course and connect it. So I've got a little bit of a straight area, and then it curves down here. There's a little bit of an indent there, and it goes up. Then I could move over and I could look at E3. The bottom almost touches the line, so I make a mark almost touching the line, and I can kind of connect that. I can do the same thing here, E4. Starts close to the bottom, and when it ends on the right side of that square, it's a little less than halfway up. So I go a little less than halfway up, I make a mark, and I can connect. So working square by square might work for some of you. You could, if you wanted to really get into that, you could make a 1 inch by 1/2 inch mark on a folded paper and cut that out. If working one square at a time is suiting you, you could do this, and then you really could work one square at a time. So I'm going to look at E5, kind of covers everything up. Come over here to E5, and I can draw this curved triangle here. The nice thing about this is I see exactly where halfway is, where this paper was folded, so I know that that line disappears almost exactly halfway. So when I connect this, I'm pretty sure that I have that line in the right spot. Some of you may want to just do the big shapes all at once, and that's fine. You just need to make sure you get them in the right spot. So the right side of this roll goes from D5 up to B5. And it's a pretty straight line that just leans to the right as it goes up a little bit. And it ends a third of the way up at B5. So I can draw that line nice and lightly. Everything I draw for now is going to be nice and light until I am positive I have everything in the right spot. Only then will I go and darken it. So these are pretty simple shapes we're drawing right now. So my roll, this line goes from being in row 2 to row 1, about halfway up D, a little higher than D. So I can make that mark there, and I can then know that I'm drawing that line in the right spot. The top curve makes a little tiny triangle right here. Sometimes instead of looking at the object itself, it's almost easier to look at the negative space around it. So in B2, there's a little tiny triangle right here that I just colored in B2. It might be easier for me to go to B2 and draw that little tiny triangle. And by drawing that negative space, I have inadvertently drawn the object I'm trying to draw. So the curve that goes down is a little higher than halfway. I made my mark a little higher than halfway. Here it's a third of the way up. Make a mark just a little bit lower in between 3 and 4. Just a little bit higher in between 4 and 5. And then I can connect it. So I like to say connecting the dots. So I'm creating the dots. I'm making a map, and then I'm drawing my line to correspond. So I'm taking something that could be difficult to draw, and I'm breaking it down. This top curved line of the top of the toilet paper is going to be easy for me because, well, this section, because it crosses right through this intersection in between 4 and 5. So I know that that has to go there. When it goes in between 4 and 3A, just a little bit above the line. Same here. So I plotted my course, then I can connect the dots. Again, nice and light, sketchy lines. Alright, getting the basic shapes. Now I can have this kind of piece that has come off the spool. So I'm going to look for what might be the easiest spot to start, and to me that seems right here in between 6 and 7, B and C, because it goes right through that intersection there. So I come over here between 6 and 7, B and C, and I know that the top of that crosses through here. So I'm going one square at a time. In between 5 and 6, it's a little less than halfway. Down here, I'm going to draw that little triangle in 8C. 8C. And then I can kind of connect those lines. When it goes off the page, it's in D8, and it's maybe a third of the way down. So, step by step, square by square, you're going to draw exactly what it is you see here. This might take some of you 15 minutes. It might take some of you 45 minutes. Some of the images have a bit more in them. The tape and apple ones have a bit more to them. They might take you a little longer. That's okay. But the point of this exercise is to transfer, draw what you see here, accurately here. You're using the grid to help guide you. If for some reason you've messed up your grid or you've messed up your drawing, you could always draw on the back of this paper, and some of these are even double-sided. If you mess up, you could draw on the back. After I have all my basic shapes, and I've checked to make sure everything looks right, then I can start adding some of the more detailed things, like flowers, or texture, groove lines. I'm going to concentrate on this flower first. So here's one dilemma. The majority of this flower is inside one box. So it's going to be really hard to know exactly where things belong in here. So one technique you can use to help yourself when things get complicated is you could take a square and divide it in half. So I'm taking D2 and making a mark at halfway there, making a mark halfway here, and connecting. I'm going to do the same thing up and down. Make a mark halfway. Just like when I made my grid, I'm making 2 sets of marks to connect my line. So I'm sure it's parallel to everything else. So I've divided D2 in half and in half on my image. I'm going to do the same thing on my drawing. I'm going to do it lighter on my drawing, obviously, because eventually I need to erase this. What this helps you do is see something a little clearer. It helps you take something that's kind of difficult and floating within a big box and break it down smaller. So the center of my flower is in the bottom right quadrant. Something like that. When these 2 petals break out, it's a little bit higher than halfway. It crosses and comes down pretty straight in the middle of this shape. I'm going to start with just the outside ring. There's a couple different lines inside the flower. I'm going to start with the outside one first, and then when I'm sure I have that in the right spot, I'll fill it in. So this petal right here goes right through that intersection. It comes over maybe a third of the way. You'll see me make a lot of marks on my paper. It's almost easier for me to see where things are. Mark up your paper. This petal, this large one on the left side, comes down and actually touches my line in between D and E. comes close to touching my new grid line. It comes close to touching the top one. So this is a wide one. And I should have room for one more in here. So once I'm sure the outside of my flower looks good, then I can go back and draw those lines inside. Another little tip, if you have a lot going on within one shape, and you want to kind of divide it up, you could outline 1 or 2 petals in blue pen, or a colored pencil, or a highlighter, just so you can help yourself distinguish between the different petals easily. Then you could go and draw the 2 petals in yellow, and then after you finish those, draw the 2 in blue. So your goal in the end is to have your drawing look exactly like this image here with all of the details.